What is your overall opinion on the new schedule?
I am not a fan of this new schedule for multiple reasons.
How do you think the schedule will affect the students and faculty members?
Well, I think affecting the faculty members affects the students and vice versa. I think you're disallowing student choice. You're taking opportunity to have 8 credits a year and limiting it to 7. You're pulling out some of the strengths of the schedule, which in many ways closely mirrors a collegiate schedule, which benefits not all of Andover students, but many of them, where you get to focus on 4 classes in a semester, go into them in depth, thereby limiting students' homework. Now we're going to have homework in all 7 subjects, or 8, depending on half-credit courses, every day of the year. I think that's going to be a heavy burden for students, and I think managing that, staying organized with that is very difficult. I also think that as a teacher, planning for a course that one day meets for 60 minutes and another day meets for 80, and trying to keep different sections of the same course working smoothly is going to be pretty difficult. I give a test to one class on one day, and then 2 days later I give the same test to a different group of students. I wonder what the results of those 2 tests will be. That's just one small example. How do you procure computer time with a class that's so varied in its structure? I think it's going to be challenging, and I do think it's not the kind of challenge that encourages deep thought and learning. It's kind of a managerial nightmare.
With the reduction in credits, do you think the new schedule also reduces academic opportunity?
It does, and I'd like students to have more choices in what they take. I think that also mirrors the collegiate experience.
What are your feelings on the H block?
H block can be fantastic. The purpose of H block is to increase student connection with an adult in the building. And students have social and emotional needs beyond their academic and extracurricular interests, and those should not be in any way ignored in a public school. However, the idea of just randomly putting students together and getting them to bond is completely artificial. And it was tried here before, and it didn't work, I think, for various reasons. I personally think the best way to make connections is to have more faculty in the building, have smaller class size, and when you're engaged in a common purpose, what we do in a class, then those relationships tend to be formed and to be more authentic. There are always going to be some people who just don't connect with me or with any other faculty member, and I'm not sure that we can force this, and I don't know that the gains we might get through instituting an H block will balance out the losses in academic time.
Are you dissatisfied with the current schedule?
Not at all. I think with the current schedule, we could do things like rotate blocks. I think we could try an H block in our current schedule. I think the way to go about this is to experiment. You know, that's what public schools really are. They're laboratories, and my my big problem with this schedule overall is that we didn't have a problem with the current schedule. Nobody said this schedule is a problem. Students aren't learning. Students are struggling. It's not meeting student needs. We changed the schedule because of a contract negotiation. We changed the schedule because the then school committee said the high school schedule is too expensive. And that's rhetoric that wasn't completely accurate. What they were really saying is they wanted us to teach more so they could get rid of teachers because teachers are very expensive. So we're changing schedule not because the current schedule is lacking anything. I feel like it's a real backward way of going about change. I mean, you change things that don't work. And by any measurement, this schedule works for the vast majority of students here, as far as I'm aware. I mean, there was no public outcry. There weren't parents or students saying, you know, bring an end to this. Teachers weren't saying that. So that's the underpinning of the schedule change is something that's not really understood. The history of it is a little murky for a lot of people, and I think people should get clear answers on that.
It's part of the school's mission, at least according to the handbook, to instill democratic values in the students. Given this, do you think that the students should get a say in the format of the new schedule?
Why would you not poll students? Why would you not survey students and find out what they like about this schedule, what changes they would be, you know, in favor of? And furthermore, since we now have a schedule, a new schedule proposed, why don't we poll people on that as well? The faculty's never been surveyed on this. Students haven't really been surveyed that I know of. Some people might claim that you have, but you haven't, as far as I know. And I would assume that most communities in this country aren't going to just do what kids want in a school. And I think that that's a shame in many ways, because you're the reason why we're here. And I wouldn't say that I would ask students to be directing all the decision making in a case like this, but I think your opinion and your input have value, and the people who would participate in such a survey or poll might really have a lot to add to the conversation.